Hey guys and gals, Nary here from Drake Wing Gaming, a 70 man Twitter, the Gaming Dragon today, and coming back at you another Let's Play episode of Minotaur Hotel. So, y'all, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right back into it, shall we? Alarm Chan, you were up, and let's go! Alrighty. The valley stretches to the cloudless horizon, framed to the right and left by more cliffs. Looking down to the bottom, you can just make out the outline of a dry riverbed stretching out. You notice there's a cave opening in the cliff wall, right below the hotel. Its exit is lined with statues, the details of which you can't make out at this distance. Right outside, there are rocky tiles spreading out in pathways. You'd wager a guess it was made for a labyrinth of sorts when the river still flowed. The maze ends with a single pathway leading to a high mound, which would have easily stood as an island in the middle of the flooded valley. This region's terrain is much like the hotel. It may have been beautiful a long time ago. Now it's eaten away by time. Your reflection is broken as a more pressing matter sneaks up on you. The heat. Regardless of the weirdness around you, there's no escaping the sweltering sun. You walk to the entrances. The doors are locked. It's hard to tell for how long this place has been abandoned. The building itself is surely as old. The exterior is severely decayed. It wouldn't be surprising if the interior is teeming with wild animals, rotten walls, and fallen pieces of the ceiling. But instead, it's just dusty, humid, and stagnant, too. The walls are water damaged and there's a lot of mold. However, it's not as bad as one would think. You call it and hope anyone might be there. Maybe some squatters? But just like outside, there's no signs of life at all in the hotel. You walk up to the reception. The counter is as dusty as you'd expect, and there are pens and yellowed pieces of paper strewn about. It seems whoever was here left this place in a hurry, who knows how many years ago. There's a door behind the reception desk, which leads you to a small but dignified office that seems to have been left under a similar state of hurry. There are even portraits on the table showing black and white pictures of a smiling family. On the corner of the room, there's a rusted safe. Which one should you investigate? On the desk is a ledger. Like everything else in the hotel, its pages are yellowed and wrinkly, but it's still readable. It contains a list of guests, their respective rooms, check-in and check-out dates, signatures, and so on. The last guest arrived back in 1944. To be more precise, someone attempted to check in on that date, but was interrupted in the process. All the following pages in the ledger are blank. You find a second, leather-bound ledger as well. This one has staff written on it in flaking gold paint. It lists all the employees in the hotel during 1944, their country of origin, role, and a few have a star scribbled beside their name. This place employed quite a number of people. More than 50, in fact. There doesn't seem to be anything else you can deduce from this ledger. Which one should you investigate to check the safe? It's one of the old-timey safes you'd see in movies from the 90s with the spinning dial and all. You prepare yourself to try and crack the password, except it's already unlocked, albeit rusty. There's only a stash of booklets inside it. 4 passports, all from different countries. Unsurprisingly, they're all expired. There doesn't seem to be anything special about them. But it's strange that someone would keep passports in an office like this. You take a moment to go over the ledgers and passports together. A cursory glance reveals a pattern. The passports are from the 4 employees with stars beside their names. You take them with you and leave the ledger on the table. You obtain the passports. You return to the reception area to continue looking around. Up ahead is a tall spiral staircase going up and down. There are multiple paths branching out from the lobby. You take one of the hallways leading down to the bedrooms and find all the doors unlocked. Much like the lobby, the bedroom's rotting walls were consumed by time. Walking into them disturbed the fine mist of stagnant spores and dust, which was turned into a curtain of diamonds by the sun shining through the windows. Each bedroom was equipped with at least one king-size bed. The springs were busted more often than not, and the fabric yellowed. But not even such desolation could hide the past glory of this place. You returned back to the hallway, which seemed to stretch forever forward. From outside, the hotel had looked big, but not nearly sprawling enough to have a ground floor with over 100 bedrooms. No matter how many twists and turns you took, the hallway never wrapped back into itself. Backtracking all the way to the lobby was the only option. The spiral staircase seemed much more inviting than wandering the seemingly endless halls. What's like, y'all? Ooh. Coffee time. Oh, yeah. That's good. Let's see. Items. Old deed. Passports. Okay, what's this? Uncover the full story of the clay tablets. Secret achievement. Oh, okay. Achievements. Okay. Back. Okay. Over the staircase all the way up, there was a skylight draping the sun's warmth over your shoulders. It was a lighthouse, guiding travelers to this once majestic hotel. The way down was as ominous as the skylight was graceful. The marble handrails were lined with burnt-out lamps. It was impossible to see much in the darkness down below. The second floor was mostly bedrooms again, but here the outer hallways were lined with sprawling windows showing a courtyard behind the hotel, close to the cliff's edge. It was a sight to behold. While the hotel was consumed by time, the garden outside had flourished. It was a field brimming with white flowers, swaying in this wretched desert's wind. At the center was a statue of a man and a dog. The flowers rose up to the man's knees, and only the top of the dog's head could be seen. The man's hand was outstretched, as if beckoning the flowers to grow taller and for people to approach. The garden seemed a more inviting adventure. You descended back down this marble staircase, brimming with clarity, and it felt like a cloak, or a hug, was draped over your back. You took the hallway leading further towards the hotel's back, and a single turn to the right brought you to a vast room. Right beside its entrance was a bar, and to the left tables, couches, and reclining chairs. Further left there was a tall window of stained glass, like the ones in a cathedral, and through a glass door beside this window was the garden. The wind blowing through the garden sent out a long, continuous whistle. From this low angle, the statue seemed like a king, tall yet humble, beckoning his dear subjects. The flowers swayed back and forth in the singing wind, and the dog's head was barely visible above them. Its ears were perked up, and its tongue lolled out from its grinning mouth. Behind the statue, beyond the courtyard, was a railing overlooking the drop into the valley below. As you walked around the statue, you noticed out of the corner of your eye that the dog seemed to have turned its head to follow you. Huh. You looked back. The dog statue hadn't budged, but indeed it was gazing right at you. You parted the flowers and walked up to it, and that's when you noticed the dog had 3 heads, one staring forward and one looking off to either side. All 3 of them exuded warmth. You petted one of its head and noticed how worn the marble was. People had been petting him for a very long time. Then you made your way to the cliff's edge. Once more you were greeted by the valley. Straight down and far below you could see the statue-lined cave exit. You could only wonder how vibrant this land must have been ages ago, when the valley's river still flowed. You go back inside, into the vast room. It seems dark but intimate. Now that your eyesight is used to the exterior's brightness, you can still notice the whistling coming from outside. You take a seat at the bar. This newfound darkness is smooth, soft as velvet. It's like being in a candlelit lounge. Behind the counter, the bottles of fine spirits are still half filled. They glimmer in exquisite browns, reds, and blues. You close your eyes and imagine how this place was decades ago. The whistling shifts again. It turns into the hum of human life, footsteps and breathing, chairs being dragged, cutlery and plates clinking, laughter, whispers, people greeting each other from across different tables. People dressed so nicely. Our barman in front of you, serving the finest drinks you can imagine. He knows your name and how you like it. Whether you are tired or brimming with life, he lends you an attentive ear. You open your eyes. You're back in the abandoned hotel, majestic and destroyed. One can understand why the old man wished to pass it on to someone who would care for it. You tap your jacket's breast pocket, making sure the crumpled parchment is still there. Even the yellowed stained paper exudes warmth now. Look at y'all. It is a coffee time. You stand up and walk out. As you do so, you notice a large purple stain on the floor behind the counter, and the glass shards of what used to be a wine bottle. You proceed further into the hotel. There's a lot to see still. All the way down the hallway, a set of sliding glass doors beckon you. From afar, the difference is clear. The wallpaper is ripped, and one of the doors is cracked. You step on something hard, a revolver bullet. You push the door to the side and are greeted by an even more chaotic sight. It's the hotel's restaurant. The tables are overturned, and both chairs and plates lay broken on the floor. There's a darkened stain in the middle of the room which trails into the kitchen. It leads you past the pantry into the massive iron door of a cold room, which is locked from outside and boarded up. All around the kitchen, things are strewn about. There's even a pan on the stove with what must be fossilized food, and the sink is filled with dirty dishes. On a nearby counter is a revolver covered in thick dust, and you think back to the bullet in the hallway and the stain on the restaurant floor. The old man wasn't kidding when he said he wasn't a good person. You check your phone. Perhaps you'll need to call the police or a morgue, but there's no signal out here. You breathe in, preparing yourself for a terrible sight. The rusted door fights against your will, but stands no chance. Darkness pours out. The stench strikes first. It's a stagnant smell of blood and rot. It clings to your nose and mouth like bitter oil. Before your eyes can adjust to the darkness, a second wave of stench hits. It's like a farm, too. The scent of dusty fur, maybe even hay, but cooped up in hot, humid room for decades. And last but not least, stale shit and piss. This place has it all, the stench of 1,000 different deaths. A light pouring into the cold room shines on the floor in front of the doorway. Empty cans of soup and glasses of jam are strewn about over the trail of old blood. Whoever was locked in here didn't die quickly. The cold room extends into absolute darkness, a hallway in and of itself. You proceed, scraping your shoes on the floor so you don't trip over the refuse. The entire floor is covered with discarded glasses and cans. Whatever scraps were left in them has long rotted, dried, and crumbled into dust. Both your footsteps and breathing echo. The overbearing humidity drapes across your back, and your breathing becomes agitated. The stench is stronger. Your sight finally adapts to the dark, but it must be the cold room's far wall. You notice the faintest glimmer. What the fuck? Whoever it is, it's slouched on the floor, motionless, as if it died where it stood after who knows how long locked up here. A shy blue glimmer, however, flickers where its left eye ought to be. What do you do? Examine the corpse. Yep. Your eyesight is used to the dark now. The distant pillar of light bleeding from the doorways enough just to avoid tripping on the discarded glass. You crouch in front of the thing. It has a bull's head. You look around its neck, searching for a zipper at the edge of a mask, but there's none. It's covered in fur, aside from the patches of sickly exposed skin. It has hooves instead of feet. Its horns could easily gore a person. Half of its skull is exposed. The bone still has a smattering of blood dust near the remaining flesh. Its left eye socket is empty. Something shines inside it, a blue ember. The fur is coarse and unkempt, but can't hide how deathly thin this creature was. It died from starvation, not from whatever destroyed its face. That's enough. You stand up and turn back to leave. As you do so, your rustling clothes and echoing footsteps break the curtain of silence. That's when you hear it, breathing as faint as a moth's wings flapping. You look back to the corpse. Blue flame flickers at you. Its chest expands and contracts. You take a step forward, and the spark follows you like an eye. What do? Call out? You set your gaze on the thing, trying to read its torn-off face. Can you understand me? It barely reacts to your voice at first. Your words slink to it and crawl into its head, dig their way to its mind, and then twist until it wakes up. Like a butterfly coming out of its long sleep, the thing's remaining eye shifts back to life. It nods to you. Ugh. Oh my god. What are you? I am the hotel's keeper and prisoner of the Labyrinth. His voice is raspy, nearly a string of grunts booming through the room in contrast with his disheveled body. His remaining eye frowns. You're the master now, which makes you mere servants, bound to your will. I cannot disobey your orders. The thing cradles his head between his arms. His voice comes out muffled. If you wish to know what thing am I am a hybrid monster. About my sorry state, the previous master did this to me. As your servant, I shall answer the master's questions. He remains with his face hidden for a while longer. When he does look up, he stares at the exit and not at you. He squints his eyes and raises a deathly thin forearm over it. He scuttles an inch to the side so your shadow covers him. Ask your question. Why were you locked here? Second yell. Water time. Oh man, this game's kind of messed up. Why were you locked here? That is what the last master saw fit. He shot me that commanded that I stay here in this room. But as you can see, I am undying. It only hurt. I cannot be killed. I can only presume he expelled all the guests shortly after. Now the hotel must be in as sorry a state as I am. He locked the door as well, but his command was enough. I cannot disobey, so I had no way out. I'm a prisoner after all. You're the hotel's keeper? You are a prisoner, but you are also the hotel's keeper? His eyes narrow and ears droop. Yes, I was sentenced by the gods to spend eternity here. I did not fight my killer, and for such meekness I was condemned. The gods made this land, which they call the Labyrinth, to house me in my damnation. The master is meant to be my torturer, and to that end is given control over the land. But there was a master who believed the Labyrinth could turn into a soothing place, and that I could tend to it. So by his will I became the keeper. And by the gods' ancient command, the Labyrinth attracts those who are lost and have nowhere to go. They became our treasured guests. He closes his eye for a moment, lost in a daydream. What about your life before you came here? What was it like? Master Jean-Marie told me it became a matter of legends. I was born from a queen who had an illicit affair with the white bull of the sea god Poseidon. I was raised in the court of King Minos in Crete. Maybe I should have a more kind of a lighter, raspier voice. Wait, let's see if I can do that without hurting my throat. I was raised in the court of King Minos in Crete. He took me as his son, even if I was much worse than a bastard. But eventually my sister demanded I be sent away. Father Minos acquiesced. Mother spoke not, so they shipped me off to my first labyrinth alone, with just an axe for company. I stayed there for years, until one day the warrior Theseus came for my head in rebellion against Father's reign. He's prepared to fight me, but I had nothing to live for, so instead he provided me with mercy. As you can see, the previous owner attempted the very same, but I cannot die, not this time. I only lost some flesh, and the hotel's guests. His eye flickers madly. Why did the previous master do this to you? The creature recoils, shrinking further into a fetal position. Being a monster is a reason enough for damnation, master. He chose to return the labyrinth to its original purpose, I presume. His bony jaw opens and closes, chewing on nothing. Does one need a reason to follow the will of the gods? It hardly matters regardless. I cannot die. His open wound stands out as he speaks, alongside his madly flickering flame. They are glaring enough to be visible from afar, even in the darkness. How can I help you with your injuries? He exhales sharply at your words. His face sinks again between his legs. Master, need not worry about me. I cannot die, and I stopped hurting a long time ago. The skull feels no pain. Alright, y'all. Oh man, I'm gonna go ahead and pause it right here. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell, leave a super thanks or a tip if you can, it always helps. Until the next video, I love you all. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye!